Are you doing what you're doing today, what you thought you'd be doing when you were 10? I mean, when you were 18, even when you went to college, right? And when I ask myself this question, the obvious answer is no. Or else I wouldn't have a talk if it was yes. So, I started to explore sort of what got me to where I am today. And, I started off my life growing up in a small town and getting an opportunity to learn the value of $1 through my father forcing me to cut grass every week to about 6 customers. And I'm still learning that value of $1 to this day. But at the end of the day, that brought me to an opportunity to flip burgers, which then brought me to an opportunity in a high school cooperative education program where literally we flipped through the yellow pages and we found a robotics company locally. And in that robotics company, an automation company, I really began to draw some people to me and really become my first mentors in life with respect to my career. And what's interesting is he guided me to going to college, doing engineering, and then after that, I had a very interesting zigzag to where I am today. Started off doing a little bit of engineering, went to a software startup, and now ultimately doing product marketing at GE. And what fascinates me is that this is a very common story in other people who I ask. And when you think about, whether or not you're talking to, doctors, whether you're talking to other professionals, or whether you're talking to, like a person like a home care person, right? They all have this sort of zigzag path in life. And in preparation for the talk, I really wanted to explore what really got me here and what got you there where you are today. So I started asking around about, different people's experience, and really a common denominator sort of emerged. And it was really these mentors and other people that got them from a small town to be the CEO of a company or running a profit and loss center in GE, for instance, or taking an idea, bringing it to manufacturing, and ultimately selling it on the market and being successful. And I started to ask, well, what got you there? Is it, what made you the person you are today? And the common thing was I was pulled. I was pulled by other people. When you think about that pull, I wanted to explore, and what fascinated me was exploring the thought of why they pull you. And no matter what type of discipline I explored, whether it be the chief transplant surgeon at Henry Ford Hospital, whether it be my boss who's based in Paris and has a PhD, whether it be a software startup guy or our beloved home care lady, the common denominator was something I call passion. And you've all heard the comment about a particular person, he's really passionate or she's really passionate. And so what does that really mean? Does it mean that you just have a lot of energy, right? Or you have this aura that you bring to the table every day? And, I really feel people who get pulled by mentors and pulled in different ways really have this horizontal passion, okay? And it creates this zigzag life that they live in. Okay, and it takes ideas to manufacturing to the market, and it also creates careers. And this really flies in the face of what every high school counselor told me, at least, and everyone on the planet is, you need to find your specific passion and pursue that beyond all other things. And I just really think this is bad advice. So if there's any high school counselors in the audience who are watching this, I apologize in advance. I think this is poor advice. I think the better way to look at it is just be passionate across the board, and more opportunities come to you, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be in your discipline. I've worked with, one example I have is a guy named Chuck. And Chuck joined our startup when we were about 75 employees. And when I was exiting the company, I asked him, I sort of got to know him rather well. And when I was exiting the company, I asked him, I said, by the way, what'd you take in school? Well, I'm a psych major. You're running a software startup. with $20 million in venture capital and you're a psych major? How'd you get here? Well, a guy knew a guy that knew a guy that said, bring me in, because I can make a difference. And he's probably the most passionate guy I met, and I learned a lot from him. And what's interesting that struck me is that he's had this zigzag career, and he's off doing great things now, but he spit in the face of the guidance counselor. Because if he was 18 or going to college, and even earlier, now I see some high schools grooming kids to an academic or applied methodology so early, right? When I'm a true believer in this horizontal passion got chucked to a COO level, you can use examples of venture capitalists. Venture capitalists invest in people. We see this every time we open the internet. Twitter was not what it was today when it was initially funded. Neither was Facebook. You can use all the really sexy .com examples. They invested in Zuckerberg because of his passion, and out of that came a product which is financially viable. So when you think about taking ideas and bringing them to the market, it's just the same as navigating a career in today's world. And I truly feel that your options in life are controlled by the level of passion you bring to everything. Okay? And this means something as standard as interacting with your friends, right? Or that boring work that we all do in our jobs. I got lots of boring work I do in my job, right? But by bringing a particular brand, my own brand, the passion to it, it has created opportunities because ultimately other people pull you into better opportunities along your way. And when you sell someone on your passion, they almost become your advocate. They almost become your advocate. Whereas, you come up in a conversation that you never would have came up in a conversation if you didn't have a direct contact with that other person. This is especially important when you're dealing with superiors, but also when you're dealing with peers and subordinates. And I really think this transcends beyond just your business life. It definitely transcends to your personal life because, why does John call me to go to the beach and we pack up and go to the beach, right? There's hundreds of friends that he could call, right? So I truly think people inherently, maybe it's a Neanderthal type instinction to pull people who are passionate. So is this the top 1% of the world? Is this the outliers like Gladwell says, right? Or is this the top 20% of people that are productive in society? One of my dear friends told me, well, there's some stat about all of society, there's only the top 20% are really effective at what they do. And I don't believe that. I believe you can learn how to be passionate. You're not born with it. And this creates better opportunities for you. Now, understand that I'm not saying if you're simply passionate and you follow this mantra, you're going to be successful. Okay? Successful is a true subjective term, right? My daycare lady is equally as successful as Jeff M out running GE. Okay? She has lots of options in her life, and she chooses to keep her small business. But I'm telling you, she gets approached by a lot of different opportunities. She wants to do that. She's just as successful as a CEO. I always use the example of my mother. My mother spent 35 years being a nurse here. She's a very passionate person. I learned a lot about it. Actually, a lot of the content for this talk came from her and her inspirations to me. And when you think about it, she was offered so many opportunities to get out of being a floor nurse, but she just wanted to be a floor nurse. And there's nothing wrong with that. After her retirement, she's just as successful as the floor nurse that went to go become the CEO. The difference is that she had options to turn down. And there's a lot of people that go to work and expect just to check off the job description, and tenature gets you promotions or gets you pulled into a completely different opportunity where you can grow. And that's just not the case. So this isn't the top 1% of the people. This isn't top 20% of the people. Everybody can learn this. So what I did was I tried to simplify this very complex topic into a simple formula. Whereas and this is largely based on my experience, sort of my zigzag career, and who knows where it's going to go next. And a lot of other colleagues in different disciplines, like I said, healthcare, science, engineering. And it's really simple. Energy plus focus plus do say equals passion. And I truly believe this creates roads of opportunity to other people that come back and provide opportunity to you. So let's explore energy. Might seem quite obvious on what I'm talking about here, but in my experience, energy is all about having the spark, okay? It's not about being that hurricane and bringing into work every day or bringing into your personal life, I've got to do something every night during the week and weekends because I've got energy and people are going to notice that. Well, I don't know about you, but those hurricanes that come in my life, I tend to run away from them sometimes. So you really got to be strategic about how you spark things. An example on that is a couple years ago, it's not part of my job description to do this, but I sparked a movement inside of our marketing group. And how I did that was just a conversation to our digital marketing manager, said, you know what, we need some videos, some real raw videos of our products to promote them. He says, okay, well, we don't have funding for that. All right, so I went off and bought a green screen from Amazon, shipped it to my office, grabbed it, put it in my basement, shot a video, bought some $30 software, edited it up, called my buddy who's a musician in Toronto, had him give us a free license and some background music, came back 2 weeks later and said, here's a video. This is awesome. This is great. We'd have to budget 2 years in advance, and this would cost $50,000 minimum for a marketing company to do this. Let's roll with it. First video up on YouTube for a division of GE gets 6,000 views. I'm getting calls from salespeople that I've never met before saying, that's great. Let's go to Thailand and pitch this customer on this. All right. That spark is so important. And it's so important enough to go outside your job description, of course with limits, but also in your personal life, right? Spark that family reunion, and it's memorable to people. This is one key element to the passion formula. The second one is focus. Another quite obvious one that you might think, yeah, you got to focus on your goals. Be like that guidance counselor, right? I'm saying, no. This is Dale Carnegie 101. You focus on the other person's objectives, and you see if there's synergy. Worst case, there's no synergy, and you learn what they're doing. And maybe, just maybe, you might come around and align with that person and go start that company that they're thinking about. Or go take that idea, or go join that boys' trip to Vegas. So every conversation, draw out of the person what their objectives, what they're doing. And this might seem weird at the first because you're not talking about yourself, but every sales guy knows this, right? They always focus on the other person. Learned that from a ton of great salespeople in my career. But that draws that connection. And that connection might happen a year down the road where I was telling Kyle about this great marketing consulting company I'm going to start up in Kingsville, and I'm writing a book, and I got a call from a publisher, and you know what, Kyle, you go talk to Kyle because he might be able to help you write that. There's an opportunity I never would have done. If I would have focused on what I was doing, never would have dug that up. The last one is do say. This is something that is a pillar of mine, if you read my description. And it's a really simple concept. Do what you say. I would guess that only 50% of the people in the world, in business or personal, do what they say. And it's as simple as, how do you feel if someone tells you, you meet them on the street and they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to call you for coffee, and they never call? There's no connection there. You're not pulling that person. They just let you down. Or, I'm going to send you that TPS report next week, and 2 weeks later you got to bug them 5 times. So part of do say is actually to commit to things, and then do it. And worst case, if you're going to miss the deadline, or you're going to miss elements, or you're going to miss the follow-up, then just reach out. Technology is so easy. I've got people reaching out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all these, text messages, or the old phone call to say, you know what, I'm not going to go to coffee with you. Call me back in 2 weeks, I'm just swamped, right? So for these 3 combinations is really what I consider passion. So consider using the passion formula. Consider looking at it from that perspective, because your options in life are really controlled by your passion. And at the end of the day, whether you're your goal is to get an idea to market, whether your goal is to climb a corporate ladder, whether your goal is to go from being a Walmart clerk to a leader in that organization, or if your goal is just to run a daycare. Your options in life are controlled by your passion. And I'm very passionate about passion. And worst case, you remember me as the guy who did the purple slides. Thank you.